What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Tough Friends Don't Last podcast. I'm your host, Grandpa, on this screen. That's Michelle Zangulis on the other. She's been telling funny jokes before the show started. Say what's up, Michelle.
What's up, Michelle?
Okay, so no races for me this week. Nothing until the 25th, where I am pacing a half marathon in North Little Rock, the time traveled half marathon, which put on by Bodies Race Company. It's an interesting looking medal. It's a 6-inch cowboy boot. We'll talk about that and the 1 hour track run that I'll probably do the following day, which is the first race in the 2025 Grand Prix series. It's a 1 hour track run. So you're basically doing loops for an hour. We'll talk about that and more. First, before we get started, let's give a quick shout out to our sponsor. The Tough Runs Don't Last podcast is presented by Rhino Races. Rhino Races is a virtual race series that offers 5 different races: a 5K, 10K, half marathon, a marathon, and the one of a kind Rhino Ultra. You can sign up for one or all 5 of their races at rhinoraces.com. Run your race at your convenience, track it with your fitness app of choice, screenshot your results as proof of completion, submit that screenshot to rhinoraces.com under the submit results section. Once your results are verified by Rhino Races staff, your award will be shipped to you by mail. Also, check out their gear section while you're there for t-shirts, wristbands, decals, and more. That's rhinoraces.com. Rhino Races is the premier virtual running series, and you can find us, the Tough Runs Don't Last podcast, on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on X, Instagram, and TikTok at TR Don't Last. What cat was that zoomed by? Okay, that's Radley.
It's Radley.
I can see it in the background.
Yep,
I,
Furpa's
I, go ahead.
Furpa's curled up on the couch, so he's sleeping. It's a good day to sleep. It's not really cold yet, but it's gonna get chilly, but it's rainy, so he's enjoying just curling up.
It's not cold at all right now. I stepped outside and it's not cold, but it's
Yeah.
also why we probably have some tornado watches because it's supposed to get very cold.
Yeah, there's quite a few there's some couple tornado warnings in the state right now in southeast Arkansas. So it got past us without any severe weather, but it is the high tomorrow is 39. So tornadoes today and 30s tomorrow.
I guess I'll be packing a gym bag tonight in case I do decide to run tomorrow. But yeah, it's my plan to be running indoors all of next week. I'm taking advantage of the fitness center at my current place of employment. I was going to do that Friday, but felt good enough outside. I said I'm going to go home and go ahead and get my run in and beat the 5 o'clock traffic that way, because that's what would have ended up happening had I stayed and worked out there at work after work. Okay, so yeah, I have basically in between like the end of the 2024 Grand Prix season and the start of the new one. The next race I have, I'm pacing on the 25th, and that's just the day before the 1 hour track run. So it's a Saturday and Sunday, so I'll be running both days. I haven't signed up for that race yet, the 1 hour track run, that is, but I will in the coming, maybe next week. I don't know. Have you had your coffee today, Michelle? That's twice you've yawned in the last like 60 seconds.
I have, yes.
Okay, I'm working on cup number 2 right now. When did you get up today?
Around 8:30. Maybe closer to 9.
Gross. I got out of bed at noon. It was great. Problem with that is I got to be up at, I wouldn't say it's a problem. It's a good problem to have. I got to be up at 4 something a.m. tomorrow morning. So I'll need to go to bed in the next 6, 7 hours, probably be 8. Hopefully not 9. I don't want to be in bed by 11, but it works out that way sometimes. Anyway, I got, I don't know how many runs I got in this past week. 2 that I can recall just off the top of my head. I ran Thursday and I ran Friday. Both days outdoors. I had a 4.5 mile run Thursday and then did a cool 5 miles on Friday. So it was just before dark. I think it was just before dark when I finished, and I did a little quarter-mile loop just around the big semicircle across the street from my place, and that was my little cool down. I never plan on doing that after my run. It just works out that way. I get into my driveway and I say, "Yeah, I think I'll do that one little quarter-mile walk." Um, when I would go to the track and run, I would usually walk for I would say a quarter mile or two, as in quarter or half a mile, and then I would walk a little bit afterwards, and that was pleasant for me. Sometimes I'd end up walking like a full mile before I'd actually start running. I don't know, I just enjoyed the walk, I guess. I would get done with 1 or 2 laps and I'd say, "Okay, one more," and then I'd do it again and be like, "All right, this time after this one, I'll run." I mean, I would always end up running. I would never be like, "Okay, that's enough," and I'd go home as far as walking goes. Um, I'm not going to knock people that do any kind of exercise, like as in the people, um, like my mom would always say when I was younger, she'd go to the track and walk with her friend, Linda. She'd be like, "All right, we're going to go to the track and walk." I'm thinking you can walk around the house or just around the neighborhood. Didn't make a lot of sense to me to just go to the track and walk. But whatever excuse you need to, again, it is better than walking around the house. Whatever gets you motivated, whether it's walking, running, etc. I was just a kid talking smack, basically. Um, but if I am going to take the time to go to the track, I'm going to, for me personally, get more out of it than just walk. I'm going to run or do some kind of workout. Anyway, I got 2 runs in this week that I can recall. I don't know that I ran another day this week. I want to say I did, maybe not. I can't remember. But I'm going to kind of be doing this until January 25th, and it's going to be cold next week. I don't know what to expect as far as I'm going to expect it to be cold. I'll just put it that way. But I'm thinking I was asked to pace this is the time travel half marathon is the first race that I ever paced. Um, the one a year ago, nearly a year ago in 2024. It was like January 21st, I think was the day because it was a week before the 1 hour track run. I remember that because it was my first ever race I paced, and then my first ever Grand Prix race was the following weekend. It was on a Sunday, um, the 1 hour track run, but they were a week apart, and it was really cold for the time travel half marathon, like freezing. It was, I think, 14 degrees at the start. This is the one. Yeah, it was the coldest I've ever been while running. 14 degrees. There was snow and ice on the ground on the trail, by the way, which I felt for the 210 pacer because, and I wasn't in as good a shape a year ago as I am now. I kind of worked my way into shape over the course of the past year. But so I don't think I would have been able to do 210 pace that group. Probably could have. I really wanted to, but well, probably not that day because you really had to watch what you were doing. Um, Almost like a trail run in a sense, just because it was so slick on the sidewalk because you're running on a sidewalk trail most of the time. And yeah, it was very slick. I paced the 230 group, uh, which was kind of perfect for me for a first ever race to pace because I could easily do that. And plus, it was so slick on the ground. And oh gosh, it was so cold though. Because as a pacer, you have to typically get there an hour early just to check in with the pace crew, go over whatever strategies there that you have, which aren't much, but you still have to, and do a team photo. And then you go back in, and then you just hang out, or in our case, go back and sit in the car in the heater for the next 40 minutes or so. And you need to be kind of at the start line about 15 minutes before the race, at the latest. And of course, I got out at 7:45. I think the race was at 8. I got out like at 7:45. and it was so cold. Oh, it was so cold. I couldn't wait to start the race. And when we finally did, and it's a 2:30 pace, so I'm not going my fastest. And I wanted to kind of go faster just to warm up more, but you can't do that. I could not feel, and I'm holding a sign, right? I could not feel, and I had gloves. I had these really nice running gloves, like winter gear gloves, and like top notch gloves I've had for years now. Still wear them when I run outside this time of year. And I could not feel my hand, not just my fingers, like my hand for 2 miles. It took 2 miles for me to really kind of get the feeling back in my hand. I had on 5 layers up top. I was wearing 5 layers. And I'm not talking like thin material. I wore like one thin workout shirt, then a pull up my like a long sleeve Bentonville half marathon shirt, which is a textile shirt, so still thin. A winter gear type of pullover, but workout shirt that's a lot thicker and just made for that winter type of um, weather environment, etc. A hoodie and like a full hoodie, very thick hoodie, and then my uh, zip up winter gear running jacket. Like it's very, I don't know, cushiony but not puffy, uh, and like my ear covers and all that. As far as it's like a headband but covers your ears type of thing. What do you call that?
Like earmuffs?
No, it's not earmuffs. It's like a toboggan, except there's nothing over the top of your head.
Just I just call that a headband,
Okay, but it covers your ears, like it's
like a head
like
wrap sort of thing.
yeah. I don't like any of those names.
Mm.
Maybe I'll wear it on one of these shows. But it's just to keep your ears warm. And I had all that stuff on, leggings, all that, and just didn't even get remotely warm the entire time. It was so cold. Now after 2 miles, I started to get comfortable. Like I started to get acclimated and was like, okay, this isn't that bad. Um, and even when I finished, I stayed there for a little bit just to, see what else I needed to do, if anything. Then when I got the okay to leave, I got in the car, cranked the heat up, and was just like, wow, I actually did that. And the 1 hour track run a week later it was cool, but it was very mild and very, it wasn't, there was no suffering in that. I wore my long sleeve Cabot Cruiser shirt. I had on like a small textile t-shirt underneath it. And what wasn't cold or anything the entire time during that run. So it was night and day as far as temperatures, what you're dealing with, elements. And that was just a 8 day difference between the two races. The worst part of that half marathon run was, um, and here's the thing too. Like I didn't, for whatever reason, I committed to that race late. I think for whatever reason, I don't remember what the deal was. I had something else going on, I think. And no, okay, here's what it was. I had the Papa Loco half marathon scheduled the same day as time travel. And the weather was so bad, and it's all on a trail too, the Papa Loco one, like the exact same kind of environment. And they canceled. They didn't cancel. They postponed to late February. They just said it's too bad, we can't do it. And Body's Racing Company, to their credit, because they go everywhere, and they've got a schedule they have to really stick to, unless it's just disastrous as far as tornadoes, whatever. They're going to put the race on, rain, snow, sleet, or shine, and they say that. And so they had it, they put it on. So I had a reason to say, all right, I can just sleep in this day. I don't have to worry about it. And I thought about it, and I knew what was coming. I said, it's a free half marathon. Are you really going to pass up on that? And so I sent the pace pace company owner, president, email saying, "Hey, I turns out I can do this race. So if you still got a spot for me," and she immediately responded, "Yep, sure do. What do you want?" I told her, and yeah, and I did that, and I woke up at 4 a.m. My dog woke me up at 4 a.m. that morning of to go outside and go to the bathroom. So I do that, and I'm like, I'm shirtless, and I just go. This is back when he could get up and down the back steps pretty easy. And so I go out there, or I go to the back, I open the door to let him out, and I just get that gust of like freezing wind hit me. And I'm thinking, I'm really about to go running this. Like, and I went out of my way to go do this. And and I was like, yeah, and I've got to get up in like an hour to go do this. And so so when Dexter got done and came back in, I went and crawled back in the bed under like uh, three quilts or whatever it was. And I remember just thinking, I couldn't go back to sleep because I was thinking, I'm really about to have to go running this. And I chose to do this. I was questioning all my life choices over the next hour in the bed. And even when we got out, and then when I got up, got all dressed, like, I mean, really prepped for it, as far as making sure I had enough layers on and all that. And when I got there, and we get out there and the pace team is out there. One of the girls that was pacing is in my run club. And she just, as we're sitting out there holding our signs freezing, she said, she made the comment, "We got to get a new hobby, guys. We're so dumb." And they couldn't argue that. I was like, yeah, this is kind of dumb, but at the same time, free half marathon. We're really going to pass on that. And so when I got the invite a couple of months ago or whatever it was to come back and pace this race, I thought for a split second, I was like, do you really want to potentially put yourself in that spot again? Thought about it for about a few minutes, and then I responded, I'm in. So I'm back doing it again. Um, what do you think that says about me, Michelle?
But you're a little crazy for sure. Because who chooses to go run when it's 15 degrees outside,
14.
14 degrees outside? Like, that's no, I'm going to be inside, bundled up with a hot drink of some sort, not going outside.
Well, I did that when I got home, and I got home, I got in the shower, got in the shower, and just stayed in there for a while until and I was conscious of that. Um, I don't know how long. Like my hot water will last for a while, but it doesn't last all day. And I like hot, long showers anyway. So I washed like first, got all that done, and then just stayed in there for as long as the water was stayed hot. And then I got out, dried off, and bundled up, and just went and sat in front of the TV and I think watched basketball the rest of the day. I didn't do anything, just stayed in my recliner for the most part, and yeah, just did that. Hung out inside. Didn't have my cat at the time, so it was just me and my dog. Um, but I did have a really big feeling of like accomplishment after, and just, I don't know, you feel badass, after doing something like that. Really, even in the moment when you start to get acclimated to it, you're like, wow, I'm really doing this. Like, this is awesome. And so I'm going to do that again. I hope it's not that cold. I'm not saying I hope it's that cold. I hope it's a very mild day for January, but there's a good chance it won't be. But I'm prepared for that.
Yeah. I mean, we're supposed to get, there's a chance of snow at the end of this week. And so we're just at that time where we could have ice, we could have snow, we could have tornadoes. Like, who knows what our weather is going to bring in a couple of weeks.
But I don't have to worry about that for another 20 days.
Yeah.
So it can do all that it wants to between now and then. I mean, it can do it race day. I'll be there. but I would prefer it not. I'm not going to say I just want to suffer, but there is something kind of cool about going through that and then saying, "Yeah, I did that," if that makes sense.
It makes sense, but it's not for me.
Like the same reason people go climb Mount Everest,
Yeah.
right? It's you did something really hard and tough, and some people, a lot of people have literally died doing, but you did that. And by the way, the bodies are still up there because there's no way to get them down.
Yep.
Like you die up there, that's where you're gonna stay. I mean, that's a
Yeah.
wrap, which is kind of a cool place to be buried, I guess. I
And a
mean,
lot
just
of them are used as markers then. Like when you get to this body, you know you're this far. And to me, like for it to, that means that body's been there for that long, that it's now become a marker for other climbers. And that's just wild.
okay. If okay, let's assume that I already know the answer, but if you were completely healthy, um, all that, and you didn't have to, it was going to be paid for and all that, because it does cost money to go do that, by the way.
Yeah,
You
it's
can't just
like
go.
$20,000.
Yeah. Would you attempt to climb Mount Everest?
I want to climb to base camp. I want to do the base camp trip. I do not want to go any higher than base camp. Even if I was healthy, I don't want to go any higher than that. I can say I've been to Mount Everest, I've been to base camp, done.
If you're going to do all that, though, why would you not say, I mean, I could go to the top of that?
Because I know I couldn't go to the top of that. And have you seen like pictures of people waiting to summit Mount Everest? It is just like a long line of people. And so it's become such like a tourist thing, which I mean, I know it's always been that way, but even more so. And it was, I think it was just this last year, 2024, it might have been 2023. They were in that line waiting to summit, and the like snow that they were standing on just gave out, and they watched two people fall to their death. Like,
Kind of the attraction.
that's wild to me. And that's not something that I'm willing to risk just to say I've summited Mount Everest.
I would do it like in a heartbeat, like wouldn't even think twice.
Like if someone wanted to pay for me to go do the base camp trip, it's like a 2 week long thing. Absolutely. I would go tomorrow.
Mm. Now, so if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do the whole thing. Like I want to climb to the tippy top. Um, my buddy from college, my frat brother from college, and his dad did it several years ago. Like they got pictures like of themselves, like like broing it, arm around each other, like looking out at the top of Mount Everest. Like it's a 1%er photo, right? I mean, it's just something you can't duplicate, replicate, whatever. I guess you can replicate it, but it's a photo that you can never. That one's going to be tough for him to ever beat. Like it's a all-time photo. I was like, yeah, I want to do that. My dad's not going to do that. He'll be like, absolutely not. But yeah, I would 100% do that.
Yeah, it's estimated around anywhere between 600 to 800 people summit Everest every year. So,
Like successfully.
well, like in 2023, it says an estimated 600 people summited, but 13 climbers were confirmed dead and another four were presumed dead.
Presumed. So it's like we can't find them. So it's a wrap.
Exactly. And then
Yeah, it's
it takes 3 to 6 weeks trekking to camps and 4 to 7 weeks climbing. So typically takes around 10 weeks to do it.
would think. I mean, it's the world's largest mountain.
Yeah, wild.
Yeah. See, here's the thing. I would do that, but then you see shows like Naked and Afraid where they're out in the wilderness and have to survive for 3 weeks. There's no way I'd do that.
No.
Like it's basically let's just go suffer for 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's not for me. I burn easily.
Well, and the bugs.
Uh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, people talk about getting like the bugs biting them like on their privates, like when they're trying to sleep and all that. Coming from being from Lone Oak, I hate mosquitoes. I can't imagine how you're basically going this if you get out, you have to go to the rainforest and do all that. That's what you're going to do. You're just going to go live outside in Lone Oak. Well, not Lone Oak, but that type of mosquito haven and just go be out in that for 3 weeks, uncovered, nothing you can do
Nothing.
except take it or tap out.
Yeah, that's not for me. There's a YouTuber that I watch. It's a couple and they travel. And one of the things that they did last year is they went to like a deserted island to survive for I think 3 days. Um, and like they paid a company to like take them out and then just leave them. And that was one of the biggest. They had like a couple of supplies, not a lot, but that was the biggest thing was like water and bugs. And for them, crabs because they were on like a beach. And so the crabs were crazy, but
You mean they were crazy?
oh, every night they would come out and like in hundreds. There would just be hundreds of crabs.
But wouldn't they leave? I mean, crabs leave you alone though, for the most part.
Well, they
What's
would
the
crawl
problem?
all over them and stuff while they were trying to sleep.
Yeah, I guess that wouldn't be fun. Maybe I don't know. Crabs always run away from me, so it was never. But yeah, if you're just out there laying down, I guess they are gonna kind of run all over you. I
Yep.
don't know. The I don't know if you know this about me, and for whatever reason, I thought of it yesterday. And this is good timing, I guess. Uh, I hiked a lot. Back when I lived in Northwest Arkansas, me and my girlfriend at the time, we would hike quite a bit. We take my dog, not Dexter. I had a dog before him named Reggie. We would go hiking quite a bit, and Reggie was a little like black shepherd mix, looked like maybe part beagle, German shepherd. I don't know. He was beautiful dog. I found a picture of him when I was looking for my transcript a couple of weeks ago, a week or two ago. I was like, oh, I knew I had it, but it was like, okay, it's good to like see this again and have it in my possession. But we decided to do gosh, can't remember the name, the butter. I can't remember the name of the trail in Fayetteville. Starts with a B, I want to say. Um, but it's a 15-mile hike, and uh, like you're supposed to check in like with the people there at Devil's. This is at Devil's Den State Park in Fayetteville, and or just outside of Fayetteville. And you're supposed to check in, and I think that they will probably. I assume they tell you, give you pointers and like direction and all that, and say what you're supposed to do. We didn't do that. We just decided to. Can you look it up? Try to look it up, like 15-mile trail at Devil's Den. And so we didn't do that. We go out there and we start hiking. We get, I don't remember, maybe 7, 8 miles in, and you're supposed to follow these blue markers. It's these little blue flags that they have throughout the trail. But at a certain point in the trail, it doesn't become obvious that you're on a trail anymore. And we got to this part where uh, you come up to this kind of, I don't know, it's like a cliff type of thing, but it almost looks like a dead end. And I was told later on that you're supposed to go over that, but we didn't know that. There were no markers or anything that indicated that. And we basically got lost. And there's no basically, we got lost. And she was a very panicky person, like very high anxiety, and was just went full freak out. And then that was distracting to me, and that flustered me, and that caused me to get turned around too. And basically, we got lost. I'm not blaming her. I'm just saying that we got lost, and that didn't help. And so we full on got lost and had to basically we just okay, well, what do we do to get out of here? Let's just trek down as far down as we can get and just follow the stream until we can find a way to get out of here. So we do that, and I mean, we're up there. So we have to climb down. I mean, I had to go full cliffhanger a lot of times, and I had my dog in my arm with me doing it. So I would do that. She came to follow, and I tried to tell her to wait, but she thought she could do it. And she ends up falling, scraping her elbow, I think it was, knee or elbow. And I mean, you could see her bone. And yeah. And so I thought it was broken at first. It wasn't. It was just a really bad cut. Um, but we got to the stream, and I wanted to cross it. I remember saying like I wanted to cross it, and she was like, "No, we shouldn't cross it." And I was like, "Okay, whatever." So basically, we spent the night out in the wilderness which by the way, it was raining,
Mhm.
so we couldn't start a fire or anything. We had a lighter, but we couldn't start a fire because everything was too wet. And this was April, I believe it was. So it's still pretty cold at night. So we got to be pretty cold that night. That next morning, we get up and we start to trek along the river or creek or whatever it was. And it was kind of cool in spots because, like, at least looking back on it, I'd have rather not done this. But at a certain point in the night, we're right by the creek, and I look over and I see a beaver just on its back, just like chilling and just like on its back, just casually like letting the stream carry him down the creek. And I mean, it was 10 like maybe 10 feet away from me. This was happening, and it looked at me, and I looked at it. Neither one of us reacted. It was just like, hey, this is my element. You're in it,
Yeah.
and that was my favorite part of it. There weren't many favorite parts, but that was one of them. Um, but we eventually start seeing blue markers and we get excited thinking, hey, we're back on the trail. Turned out, no, those were just like dummy markers or from a previous trail. And so she breaks down and starts like boohooing and all this. We did have like snacks, so we didn't go hungry or anything. Even had some water. And I just finally said, screw it. I'm going to cross the creek. I just got to see what's over there. Because I think I thought I had heard noises or something coming from that direction. That made me want to cross. So I picked my dog up and we're waiting. And it's pretty deep in spots and we're going through it. And it was kind of funny because, like, holding my dog, um, he'd get in, he would just be like barely in the water at times. And other times he'd be fully in there. But sometimes he'd be barely in there and he'd start like doing the paddle swimming as he's barely in there. So that was kind of funny. And we get over and I climb up. And when I climb over or I get up high enough to where I can get to a spot that I see that's even, it's a road, a full like dirt road. And I'm thinking we could have crossed this like and gone along this road last night. And then not long off after that, a full like a truck that hauls gravel or dirt or whatever comes driving by. And we're obviously like, okay, we're back at civilization. Let's just follow this road. And so we do. We look beat to hell. I mean, we look so beat up and in bad shape. Um, at a certain point, like a horse, people were riding horses, and they went by, and my dog, as the horse passed, my dog like glances over and then like really did a double take and looked like, wow, what kind of dog is that? Kind of. I could tell that's what he was thinking. And we eventually get back to where we recognize where we are. We get to the park. Her car is what we took to get there. It's the only car there. There's a note, a big note on the car saying, "Come by the um, whatever it was, the visitors uh, building, whatever it is, before you leave." Basically, because they were worried about us. Um, which I guess is good because we didn't even check in. I guess they just noticed that car had been there. So
Yeah.
yeah. So we get there. Oh, and by the way, there was no reception. This was back in the I had a flip phone. So I got as high up as I could at a certain point and texted my dad saying, "Hey, this is not a joke. Me and so and so are lost at Devil's Den," and just hoping the message went through. It did, but they had no way to get in contact with us beyond that. And but yeah, we got. I think we went by and told them like, hey, we're all right. We're beat up, but yeah, we're okay. And um, we get out of there and head home, and we go by my place. She drops me and my dog off. I live in an apartment complex in Fayetteville. My best friend Bradley lived right next to me. I found out about this place through him, and uh, Bradley would watch my dog a lot of times, or like go over and let him out, or we go over and hang out over there, and my dog would be with me. We get there, and as I'm going in, my dog goes down the stairs and just goes over to my best friend's apartment and sits in front of the door, won't even look at me. He's like, I'm not living with you anymore. Like this was awful and stupid. I'm done with you. Wouldn't even turn to look at me. He was like, no, I'm gonna go live with him now. And like that was an option. And yeah, so we went in, we got cleaned up. She had to go to the I don't know if it was the ER, or she just went to, the doctor or something. I went with her. And they, of course, asked her all these questions, and they were looking at me and giving me certain looks like, hey, did he do this to you, kind of thing. And she was like, no, he really didn't. This is what happened. And yeah, so it was a whole ordeal. Apparently, like the news, so, like someone with the news had gotten like word of this, by the way, and they were wanting to like contact us and talk to us about it. And we were just like, no, pass. We don't want to be known as the idiots that got lost at Devil's Den State Park. I was like, no, that's okay.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah, I'm all right on that. You never heard that story before, have you?
No, that was a new one.
Yeah, well, um, yeah. So if you decide to go, did you ever find the name of that?
It's
What is
called
it?
Butterfield.
Yes, I knew it was butter. So I want to say it was butter something. The
It's
Butterfield Trail. That's it.
It is 15 miles. It is a 12-hour overnight hike, is what it says time, 12-hour overnight hike.
Yeah. See, we tried to do that in the morning and think we'd have enough time to do that. We were so stupid. Um,
Yeah, that's not I'm all for like hiking and exploring. But that is one of my fears is like getting lost. Um, After graduation from grad school, a group of us went out to Mount Magazine, And we did like the little short up to Mount Magazine to be like, we've been to Mount Magazine.
Is that what you did when you
Yeah.
got there?
Yeah.
Okay. Show us again.
No, thank you. And then we decided we had heard there was this trail with a bunch of waterfalls. And so we were like, oh, we're gonna go do that trail. And 8 miles later, we never saw a single waterfall. But it was not clearly marked. So we just kept going. We found a really pretty like overlook and then we just like turned around and went back. But um what was supposed to be like a 3 mile round trip like turned into like 8 for us. So, but it was, I mean, fun time overall. We did not get lost, just followed the wrong trail. But that is a fear of mine is going like off trail and getting lost.
We were morons about it, but that's the best way that I learn is by doing things wrong. And then I just are like, okay, this is what not to do moving forward. That's basically me in running. Um, at least as far as it, well, and as far as marathon and half marathon, or basically any race. I mean, you learn like, okay, don't go out this hard this early. If you're doing a marathon, okay, um, as a guy, I need something to cover my nipples. I need Vaseline or Body Glide in certain crevices on me. Otherwise, I'm going to get the meanest shape of my life. It's okay. I do need to stop and drink water every chance I get, or at least more often than I did this time. I had to learn everything by experience when it came to running because I'm the first person that did this in my family. I didn't have anybody to ask. I'm also don't know hikers. Actually, I have a friend named Jose who's hiked the Appalachian. Is it Appalachian or Appalachian?
Depends on who you are and where you're from.
But I've heard this girl from that area call it Appalachia. I've
Yeah.
always called it the Appalachian Trail, but they say Appalachia, so I feel like she would know. She lives in that. So Appalachian Trail.
That's what they call it. I think most everyone else calls it the Appellation or whatever.
They probably go Appalachian, not or whatever.
True.
But anyway, he's hiked the whole thing. So I mean, I do know some pretty intense hikers, but no one older than me that I can ask as far as what to do. But really, is it that difficult? I mean, you go walk and you carry water and food. Maybe toilet paper if you're out long enough. But okay, would you ever do something like that, an overnight type of hike? Because you probably have to do something like that.
Yeah, I would.
Okay, you don't come off as one that would poo in the woods.
Yeah, I would. That would be the worst part for me, for sure. Um,
Have you
but
ever done that?
no,
Okay.
no. And that would be the part that would. I've never camped either. Like I've never done tent camping. Um, I've been in
Okay.
like an RV or like a trailer. But I've never been like tent camping, so I say that. I'm like, yeah, I'd totally do that. But I've never actually, I have peed outside, but I've never had to pee outside, and I have never gone number two outside. So,
Okay, hang on. You didn't have to pee outside, but you did pee outside?
well, no, I realized when I said that, like, I have been in situations where I had no choice. Um,
Okay.
but I never want to choose to do that. Like, I remember
Obviously.
one of the times, like, when we had gone fishing. Like I needed to go to the bathroom, so I was like, I gotta go. And you were like, can't you just go in the woods? And I was like, no.
Oh, that's right. Was that at Pickthorn?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Where did you go, by the way?
The wherever we ate, I can't remember, like that sandwich place.
Firehouse.
Yeah, we left.
Wow. Okay. Huh. Yeah, I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah.
Uh, um, so you've never been in a situation then where you like, I had to go number two and you're out in the woods.
No.
Okay. Like when I would go hunting, like when I did that, um, I would like carry toilet paper with me in case something like that happened. Or part of the time I wouldn't and just be like, okay, I'll just use the leaves. Like that was what I was told to do, just use leaves. Never had to do that though. Things worked a lot better back then, so I didn't have to really worry about that. Um, so I've never been in a situation where I'd have to do that. Well, that's not true, but I wasn't technically in the woods. Uh, yeah,
Oh, okay. Well, anyway,
kind of have to say it now, right?
you don't have to. It's okay.
All right. So what happened was, uh, this was in town, by the way, in Lone Oak.
Of course.
Yeah. Well, I lived across the street from the high school, but I had a really big backyard with a privacy fence. So this is back when I was in middle school. So I don't what did I do? I don't know if I walked home or what. I don't remember how I got home those days. Maybe got a ride. I can't remember. Um, but I get home and mom and I think it was just mom at that point. Like dads they were split and living elsewhere. Um, Dad that is, and but mom's at work. I'm the first person home. Nobody else had come, and I didn't have my house key, and I couldn't get in. We didn't have like a spare laying around anywhere, so I had no way to get inside, and I got the worst stomach cramps like ever that hit me, and so I had to go, and I really had no choice. So I just go in the backyard, and there's a back corner kind of away from everything. Uh, so I and there it's pine trees, and I just go back there and I just pull them down, just hang on to the pine tree and just uh, you know lean back and just let it rip. The problem with that, as and it's like it's a stomach cramp, number two. I mean, it's hateful and just a full exorcism back there, and no, it gets better. And by that I mean worse. So I hear like something behind me, like my dog's eating, like that noise,
Oh
And I
no.
look, yeah, and I look back there, and my lab mix dog is eating that as it's coming out of me. So I'm like yelling at her to stop doing that as this is happening. And I mean, it's bad. Like you can see it in her teeth, and like
We
between the
need to
cracks
stop.
in
Like,
the
I'm not
teeth.
kidding. Like, you have to stop.
Okay, all right. So anyway, I get that taken care of, and of course, I don't have toilet paper or anything. And all I had was my like, back then you wore like the trend was to wear like a white t-shirt, plain white t-shirt underneath your regular shirt. I don't know why we did that. It just made things hotter. I think it was to keep from, honestly, I think the reason we did that was to keep the sweat from your pits from like going through and it making it so obvious that your pits are sweaty because you're young and you're insecure and still trying to find yourself and all that. So that was all I had. So I was like, well, I could use this regular shirt or my plain white t-shirt that I have plenty of. So I just basically destroy that plain white t-shirt and cleaning myself up. And then I just go throw it in the trash bin that we have. And it was very foul. But basically, I got all that taken care of. And then somebody finally came home um, after all that. And yeah. So that's the only time I've had to do that when it wasn't, around a toilet. Are you better for knowing that now?
I'm not. I'm not at all. Not at all.
You look like you went through something.
I did. There was a struggle for a minute.
You think you were struggling. Imagine how I was.
Mm-mm.
It was bad. I mean, yeah, it was rough. And I had no way to get inside. I was like, I was helpless. That was my only option.
Yeah.
I guess I technically could have like maybe went to the neighbor and be like, hey, like this is happening. So
Yeah.
they would have let me in, but I didn't think of that at the time. I don't even know that that crossed my mind in the moment. I was just thinking I need to get far enough away, like to where it's not obvious. I mean, because you can, even though it's a privacy fence, people walked by my place all the time. You could still tell when somebody was back there. So I didn't want somebody that I knew from school to like see me back there doing that, and then peek over the fence, like, "Oh my God, look at what Graham's doing! Everybody come over and look," type of thing.
Yeah, it's true.
Um, but yeah, it was that was quite a unpleasant experience. But that's the only time I've had to do that. Hopefully, the last too.
Hopefully.
Okay, well, what are we missing, Michelle? Our fantasy football teams are done, so we got nothing to talk about there.
Yeah, I think we're good. I think we're done.
Here, I don't know if that's wind or rain or whatever going on outside right now. I peeked up a couple of times because I could hear it. So the fun weather appears to be coming. So are we supposed to get like something bad as far as weather, or is it just going to be heavy rain?
There's a chance of like sleet and frozen rain, freezing rain, but not severe weather. Our severe our severe weather threat is done.
I don't know why I'm asking you anyway. You're the boy that cries wolf when it comes to bad weather. There was a point where you send me a text like every week being like, um, tornadoes are coming or whatever, and nothing would ever happen.
Yeah, and I stopped following that um
I told you to do
that
that.
group. So now I only listen to Todd Yacobian, who is the chief meteorologist on Channel 4, so I trust him.
Okay. Yeah, that other one was just clickbait, pretty much.
It was sometimes they were right, but most of the time they were not.
Like 80% of the time, they were wrong. They're like, "It's severe, worst storm ever is coming." And I'm like,
Yeah.
nothing happened. And then after about the third time that happened, I was like, I'm not following these people. They're doing.
Yeah. So I only listen to Todd now. That was also during the time when Todd was on hiatus because he was between his non-compete was in effect, so he was between stations. So I didn't really have Todd to listen to.
They don't have other meteorologists in Arkansas, just Todd, apparently.
Yep. Not that I want to listen to.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, that's all I got this week. We'll we'll probably be coming at you every other week now because Michelle every other Sunday now because Michelle is starting back law school soon, is getting back into the swing of work and all that, being a productive citizen again. I've got other things happening as well, so it looks like this will probably turn into an every other weekend show, which will kind of work out better, I think. Anyway, especially right now, we'll have more to talk about and then some. Maybe something else to offer besides. Although I think the getting lost in the woods part was fun, but maybe not the part that followed.
Yes, I agree with that.
I mean, it was fun for me to tell. I don't know that it's fun for everyone to hear. Maybe it
Prob-
is.
Probably not.
Some are going to cringe and do like you and probably just turn it off. Others are going to just be like a bad car wreck, like they can't turn away or, they it's ugly, but they can't turn away type of thing.
I guess that's one way to look at it.
Possibly. All right. Well, I guess we're going to get off of here and, yeah, we'll see y'all probably 2 Sundays from now. But until then, I'm Grandpa. That's Michelle Zangulis. We'll see y'all next time.
See ya.